Welcome to Real Woman Unplugged. You are in for another treat. Tonight we have Diane, Terry, Dorit, and Simone, and I'm your host, Shoshana. Welcome. Now, our topic tonight is when anger meets faith. What does that mean? Have you ever been angry with God while you're waiting for your promise or you're waiting for your answer? What does that mean for you? Dan, tell me, what does it mean for you when anger meets faith? Have you ever been angry with God?
Um, Good night again, everyone. I'm Diane Hall, and welcome. I think I was talking last night, and when my mother passed in 2018, I thought I was angry with I was angry with the Lord because she had a stroke for over 18 years. No, sorry, 13 years. She was bedridden, and in the 14th year, she passed, and I was very close with my mother, very close. People normally think we look alike everywhere we go. And I always wanted the Lord to heal her because I always heard about persons getting healed and you're sick and stuff like that. So I didn't realize that I was upset with the Lord for taking her, for not healing her, because she was such a good mother. She was so nice. My mother gave the best hugs ever. I've never met anyone that hugged me like the way my mother hugged me. She gave the best hugs. So I realized that I was angry with the Lord for not healing her and for taking her. And over the years, I'm getting over it, you know, and letting it go. It's the Lord's will, it's His child, and He saw fit to take her at the time. So God knows best. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us. I know that is really a rough experience because I lost my mom when I was 16 years old, but I wasn't angry about that because in my heart, I remember that's the time I gave the Lord my life because I said to myself, God, as you said, you know best. And in myself, I said, I can't do this journey by myself. And that's when I received the Lord as my Lord and Savior. But I know that pain, I know that journey. I know exactly, what you have been through. And I'm happy that you came to a place to accept it and to say, God, you know best, and I put everything in your hands. But let me go to Terry. Have you ever been in a situation, Terry, where you felt that anger or disappointment? God, why? Have you ever been there?
Absolutely. Hi, thank you. I'm Terry River, and yes, I have had the experience of questioning God in His, infinite wisdom and still with my own ability to understand, questioned His judgment. I too lost my mom just 2 years ago, and it was a very rough experience. But since Diane has expressed the loss and the anger with God for taking a loved one, I will go into forgiving by faith. Um, well, I am now very recently in a situation where I have to partner with someone who hurt me very deeply and wounded me, in more ways than one, many layers to it. Over the years, I had chosen to hold on to anger and bitterness because I was right and they were wrong, right? So we think. But because I was a child and I am a child of the Most High God, I had to realize that it was eating me up inside, and anger and bitterness, unforgiveness really poisons the vessel in which it's carried, right? So I was getting sick. I was stressed out. A lot of physical symptoms were manifesting. And until I decided that I had to release this person by faith, forgive by faith, even when you don't get an apology, that is when the healing and the deliverance began. So I have been in a position where I've been angry with God because I say, where were you when these horrible things were happening to us and to myself? Why would you allow? It felt so unjust for them to get away with it. But what I have come to understand through growth and transformation is that God is a graceful and gracious God. And the same grace that He extended to us, to me, in my state of wickedness and folly, is the same grace that He wants to extend to, you know, the person who forgive by faith. So my anger met my faith, and it's a process. Let's be honest. It's not an overnight, instant, magical thing or whimsical. It is absolutely by faith that things are released from you, and you have to choose. Every time the thought comes or the negativity comes, you have to choose by faith to forgive. And that's what.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Terry. I've been in a situation where I have to realize that I have to forgive. And the forgiveness is not about the person who wronged us. Forgiveness is about you, is about me being whole, me being, as you talk about that holy vessel. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it's really about your relationship with God. That is the most important thing. And He said we're to forgive. And I'm so happy that you brought that across about being angry, because sometimes I've had that in the past where, especially when you know you did not deserve it, and you're like, so why did this happen to me? I don't deserve this. But then, as you mentioned, it's so important to forgive. Dart, I'll move quickly over to you. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt anger towards God? And how did you manage to overcome that situation?
Okay, hello everybody. I am Direct Delight Rose, and yes, definitely. And it wasn't easy because, for one, my experience growing up with rejection and neglect, and you're finally into a place and position where you felt loved now and valued and appreciated, and then engaged, and all of a sudden, when you think that health has improved and looking forward to work out this marriage thing, and he died. So heartbroken, but God. And it wasn't an easy task to say, Lord, come in, because we had to step back and say, okay, then at this point, it's just you alone, Lord. There's nobody else. It's just me and you on this journey together. And we are going to just love and just start all over back again, and to just have the Lord deal with all of that issue that I was experiencing. And then it wasn't easy to let go, knowing that you had hopes and wanting all this, but God had a greater picture, a bigger plan, because what I'm doing now, I probably would not have known. So it's definitely God's way of comforting me and giving me joy, and I'm able to laugh again, and I'm able to say, okay, then, Lord, it's your way, your will, and I'm pursuing it.
Thank you for sharing that, Dorit. Again, I realize that all four of us so far have one similarity where we have gone through some amount of grief, and how the Lord has helped us to overcome that grief. So, Simone, share with us. Same question. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt anger towards God?
Good night, and thanks for asking that question. I have had several incidences when I've been upset with God. I think I have perhaps stayed in that state for several years. But I remember I can tell you several incidences. However, the very first time it happened, I had moved out of my father's home and I was living with my brother. And I used to meet with the Lord very early in the morning. But this particular time, I had been reading a romance novel, and in it, the young lady, she was very angry at God, and I was surprised that she was upset at God. Like, what is she thinking? But how the Lord showed her, it amazed me. Not knowing that He was trying to tell me something through the book I was reading. And by the next morning, I found myself screaming at God 21 times to be exact. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. And what happened was the Spirit of the Lord, you know, when the scripture says He lifts up a standard against the enemy, that's what happened to me. I just stopped screaming, I hate God. And I felt His love pouring over me where He just pulled me out of that state. But I can clearly remember it was 21 times. But it was the Spirit of the Lord that pulled me out of that state. If I may share, though, the grief that everyone else has experienced, I have gone through it. I was upset with the Lord for taking my dad and my uncle the same time. And I'm thinking because by the same time, I'm saying we had a double funeral in the family. And that year, I suffered the stroke. And so many things happened after. But it wasn't until I started giving thanks for their lives and how they had helped me in my early years, I started feeling the release. But following that, 2 years after that, I also lost my fiance. The same year we got engaged, he died the same year. So I got engaged in January, he died in May. And it affected me, but at that time I wasn't upset with God. I was upset with myself for not taking up opportunities that the Lord had released through that my fiance at the time. So that's it. Those are my experiences where I was upset with God and upset with myself as well.
Thank you so much for sharing, Simone. I will just share with you ladies. For me, I don't think I was upset with God, but I asked Him a lot of questions. Like I've shared with you guys before that in terms of my whole migration, that my husband was away for 4 years before we came here to Canada. And it wasn't a planned thing. Like initially it wasn't supposed to be that long. It was supposed to be a couple months, but then COVID came and everything just really slowed everything down. And during that time, like at the beginning, a lot of times I said, God, why am the one who have to be here with the children? It is so hard, it is so difficult. And he's just okay by himself and him free, and me one have to have them. I said, God, me get the hardest part of this job. And I used to complain like every day to God and say, why me I forget this part? And Simone, you said something about you start being thankful. I shifted my mindset and I started now having that close relationship with God. Like, talking to him more and sitting in the place of praise and worship and because of COVID, and so I wasn't going out to work every day, so I had so much more time to pray, to talk to the Lord. And let me tell you this, ladies, nothing happened by chance, because you see that season may it change who I am, right? I'm so much stronger. I'm so much stronger. Like things that would phase me, things that would really hurt me, it just I'll shake it off. It just run off my back like a duck, water pan duck back. It don't bother me anymore, because during that season, I know I came to understand who I am in God, right? And it just helped to mold me up. I mean, I don't believe my masterpiece is finished as yet, but that experience of being by myself helped me so much. It's like it literally, like the slingshot, like somebody pull you back and push you forward. That's what happened to me during that time. And then during my time of worship and just staying in the Lord and staying in the Lord, and hearing his voice, and a lot of prophecies came to me during that time. People just prophesy in my life. I mean, I've been a Christian for many years, and during those 4 years, I've never gotten so many prophecies. Right, I've been on a program, and people call out my name and say, "This is what the Lord is saying," and da 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 da. But what I was determined in my heart is to make it. And that is the place where the faith, meaning meeting the anger. When start turn up the faith a bit, and then determine, say, look here, the enemy not get me, me I make it, because look here, let me tell you something. It's as if it's not only the devil, I guess it's the devil in people, like they're watching you to see that this is gonna happen to them, they're gonna go under this, they're gonna mash up, yeah, man, this marriage are done. I'm gonna say, God, we're gonna prove the devil wrong today, right? And I was so determined, guys, to make it. I'm telling you, I was so determined that there were movies that I didn't watch during that season of being by myself, like romance movie and them, because you don't want to start nothing, because you don't want to go down that road, because guess what, your husband is not here. And so I was so determined. There are persons who I block their numbers, not like I'm being malicious, but because I know what you're going to come to me with, the negativity and all of that. Look here, during that season, I'm not talking to you right now. I just focus on where God is taking me. And so you have to have that faith in you, and that it stir up that fight to say, I'm gonna make it, God. Me and you, God, me and you in a this. Daddy, you're gonna lead me out of this. I'm telling you. It is just when the faith meets the anger, it's just, like it just whoosh, just like explode, because you're determined to look here. No matter how many feel, I am going to make it. I am going to push through. I'm going to prove them wrong. Have you ever been in a situation where you're going to shame the devil and prove him wrong? Diane, have you ever been in that situation where it's a God, we can't deal with anger? Come, the faith I got turn up,
Yes, I have been in that place before where um when my mother died, we got a lot of blame to say that it was our fault. And when persons die, a family member die, everybody is grieving, so they try to blame somebody. So me and my sister, we were the person that they blame us for. But we decided not to pay them any mind, because we know in our hearts that we didn't do anything to cause our mother death. So we didn't. But I realized where after my mother died, I saw the hand of God. The hand of God is always on you, But when I recognize it was after my mother's passing, is that the Lord is saying, okay, my daughter, a time for your shine now, like the star you are meant to be. I am going to take you places that you never thought you would be there. Because even I was in right now, I am a co-host for a radio station, Arrow's Internet Radio. That is me saying, and I wasn't even asked if I wanted the position. It was given to me. right? And I am also a host, the host of Smart, Fabulous, and Single, Dr. Strisha's podcast, yeah. And I was not, I didn't, they didn't ask me, do you want this position? They said, look here, this is what you're going to do. Dr. Trisha, they said, look here, this is what you're going to do. And thank you so much for saying yes. And I was like, okay, all right. So when you say yes to the Lord, He will, I'm not going to say open doors because I'm not going to say open doors, because when I'm going to look back at how God just turned some things around and take off the door, and take off the inches off of the door for me. Yeah, him not open the door anymore. Him rip off the inches and him bust the door open. Like them movie when you watch it, they always see the star come in and whoosh, and kick off the door. That is what I see the Lord doing for me right now. Before I was a shy person. If you ask me to be on this program, like me, no man. Ask Terry. Terry's good at that. She's the best girl. Ask Terry. And I will normally push persons before me to say they are better. Because before, when I was younger, I was told that I'm not good enough and I won't amount to anything. But those same persons that said that, some of them are alive now and they are seeing the glory of God in my life. Even one of them, a couple months ago, I heard that she said, Diana, you just look young, so I have 4 children. You don't look like you have no picking. You just look nice and young. I'm like, I have to just wallow in the glory of God, the way a pig wallow into mud. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just wallow in the glory of God. So when the Lord is ready for you, you it's best to just say yes. Just say yes. When a year time, just say yes, and then you will see what the Lord will do for you. When you're in that space and you're as cutting to persons like you say, Shashan, a person may look and say, oh, not now going to see you, and she, say her husband gone and look like him now come back and me left her with the pit of them, and she alone have to struggle. Them not know and them not realize that you're worshiping God and you're just focusing on God at that time, right? They don't see that. But when them see say, girl take the plane and girl gone to her husband and her family fly out, then they see that talk too soon, certain things are going fair now. I know they are going to have things to say. Oh, she come go on like and she go on like say she this. But it's just the glory of God. When the Lord is ready for you, He will burst down doors. People will not even realize that there was a door there because all the inches, the door posts. Hey, yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Dan. That is so true because you know what? A lot of persons were asking me at church, like 'cause that's the community that would know both of us, right? I noticed your husband not here. Yeah. And so they asked. And I remember there was one situation where one of our neighbors, she lives like a couple doors from me, and one day she asked me like, "Where's Hervin?" And I say, he's abroad. The day before I was leaving, I was looking for some mangoes for him in the community. However, a lot of East Indian trees and stuff. And so I passed their home and they had this big tree at the front. And I remember like I stopped and I asking them for the mangoes. So her husband was outside and he's like, I didn't tell him I was leaving. And he's like, sure, you can take some, man. And as they're picking, and she run, come outside. Because I was telling her husband that I wanted some mangoes for my husband to send for him. I just said to send, right? So she ran, come outside. I literally see her running, and she said, Hervin, he's back. He's back. So I said, oh, no. So then when I came here and I told my husband, then he said to me, did he tell her you're leaving? I said, no. When she passed the house and see it empty, she will know. Sometimes you need to hold it, guys. You don't say everything, and especially when you know that the person doesn't genuinely, have your best interest at heart, you hold certain things, right? You just keep pushing. Literally, guys, I literally fight it because guess what? I say I'm going over, not going under. I'm going over, I'm not going under. And it's the same thing for my husband when he was here. He said sometimes people would like, because in a first world country, persons are more aggressive. The women are more aggressive than like him say in Jamaica in terms of looking someone. And like sometimes he would say, look, like he would have to block people's number because of things that they would send him because he was determined in his heart, say, we're not giving the enemy anything to rejoice over me because we're going over, we're not going under. Terry, tell me, have you ever been in a situation where you have to fight it because you say, God, may have to make it, the faith have to turn up?
Yes, I have been in that situation. I've been in the situation where you expressed your, frustration with doing it alone and why, you know, it's not fair, it's not right. But I realized that the same spirit that was within those people we are talking about who are inquiring, but it's just a gossiping spirit. That it's just the spirit of maybe negativity and gossip and the other things that are really devices of the enemy that they are allowed to use them as his mouthpiece and foot and hand. So I have had that experience where in the same waiting for God to show himself powerful, mighty, and you know, I've been praying for miracles and I've been seeing several things manifest. And the things that I thought I was supposed to pray for, it turns out that it was really supposed to be an inner work. I was supposed to be doing work on, internally and letting go and releasing and forgiving and shedding and allowing the Holy Spirit to illuminate all of the marrow, bone, the soul, the spirit, everything. And I had people, even close people to me, who were supposed to be, invested in the success of my family and my little family getting, out of the ditch. Sometimes we were feeling like, whoa, this feels oppressive, and you would have people come along and I saw so and so, and so, and like, okay, and, trying to get a response from you. And I said, well, that's lovely, man. I hope they're doing well. And they're like, so, they wanted to egg you on and get the tea, the juice, whatever the juicy stuff. I realized that it was the enemy's plan to probably take me down a rabbit hole of unforgiveness and unearthing things and going back in the past and bringing up things. I started and then I just deleted every message and said, you know what? This is counter to what I have prayed for. And if I'm praying for this person, I will not be participating in the rehashing of what had happened. So I am here present and I'm looking ahead. So without giving too much, offensive response, I think they took offense because they said, well, I can delete too. And I said, well, do what you have to do, you know. But just so that, because I know that the character would have screenshot and, there's a tendency for sometimes for them to use your business as entertainment, So I found that I had to just keep my mouth and continue to pray and trust in the groups that, I know prayerfully would have my back, who would, when they see any little foothold. Even yesterday I called, I said, I'm struggling with this thing is happening. I'm feeling that physical, what's going on? And they're like, prayer, boom, and just, call a thing, speak to the spirit that is trying to, get a foothold. So yes, I have had to hold my mouth and turn my mind around from speaking negatively about a situation that I already blessed and prayed for and asked for God's blessing over, It's not, it's human nature sometimes, it's how we're conditioned, and we don't have to sit and wallow in that negativity, but we can, as Diane said, wallow in a God grace and give him thanks for the breakthrough, which we know is at the, it is coming. And he has his way of revealing, the layers, peeling back the layers until for us. And then all of a sudden, boom, you see the person who you pray for accept Jesus. Or they just start to to do things differently. And you say, wait, is it possible? Of course it's possible. God can transform anything, any person, once they are willing, once they're willing vessels, he can create in them a clean heart and renew their spirit. And look here, we're not supposed to put anybody under the bus or throw them away because every soul matters to Christ. So that I had to hold my peace too. And God is to be praised for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Terry. So Simone, let me just jump over to you. Have you ever been in a situation, as Dan, Terry, and I, spoke about, where you have to make a decision to be deliberate in getting past where you're at, to shame the devil? Basically, that it is. You made up your mind. Say, look here, I can't be angry. I have to increase my faith so as to overcome what's happening to me.
I certainly had to, especially when I recognized that the Lord was shifting me from my comfort place as a singer worshiper. Oh my goodness, I kept wondering, what you doing, Father? But I decided to trust God, and I saw the heart of God for me, that I was operating way below my potential, and He just wanted me to be somewhere else in His kingdom. So I humbled myself to Him, deciding that whatever instruction the Lord gives me, that's what I'm going to follow. Because, ladies, I grew up with the Word, so it became a part of my entire walk with the Lord. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Trish was instrumental in helping me during that season, because when I say I was literally angry, because God was moving me from where I thought was best for me. But the spirit of unbelief, and us knowing that we think that we know more than God, He started reminding me of the scripture. He told me that as for God, His way is perfect. And then once I started delving into the word, I knew that was my comeback, because once you start taking hold of the word, you are getting, as it were, a foothold over the enemy. You're stepping in the enemy's face, because you are not trying to go his way. His way is anger, bitterness, hatred, etc. But I chose to hold on to the word. And one of those scriptures that came to me through a Daniel consecration with my bishop was, I'm to take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go, for she's thy life. And when I heard that, my bishop told me to get in touch with Dr. Trish, because she wrote a book, and he was just talking about her and the book that she wrote and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? Instruction is my life. So I decided to follow the instruction. I got the number from him and spoke with her. And having done that, ladies, I have connected with Dr. Trisha Ann, and have now messed up the enemy's plan for my life, because he just wanted me to stay in my comfort place. But Dr. Trish was not having it. In fact, what she did was she prophesied to me. But the first thing she did was paid for me to be a part of a prophetic course. And in the prophetic course, ladies, there was a big bottle of roots on my table. And yes, the roots was so, it was so, what was it? It was above halfway. And in it, because they asked us to look at the object in front of us and prophesy over ourselves with it. And all I kept hearing the Spirit of the Lord saying is, there is more in me than I am expecting, or that I, it's like he was telling me I don't know who I am and what he wants me to do because there is so much more in me. So when Dr. Trish paid for that course and I started working with her, I found out what my purpose was because she spoke to me prophetically. I took the instruction, spoke with her, and then she prophesied to me about, she saw me, her taking me up to the top of a mountain because I was in the cave wanting to die. But Dr. Trish took me, met me in that cave, telling me that she would take me up to the top of the mountain. And then when she's done with me, I'm going to know who I am, what my purpose is, and I'm going to also get married. So I'm looking forward to all of those prophetic words to come to pass. Oh, yes, because the enemy doesn't want anything good for us. And so I was able to take hold of what Dr. Trish prophetically spoke over my life. And you know, ladies, we know who we are and what our purposes are. And I am extremely excited that I follow the instruction because I am now living my life. I am not surviving, I am thriving because I follow the instruction. I think let's stop right here.
Thank you so much. There's so many things that you said that really, touched me. When you said you're not surviving, you're striving. I like that. I love that. And the enemy does not want the best for us. Yeah. So he wants us to be confused. He wants us to be unhappy. He wants us to be jealous. He wants us, yeah, because all of that emotion, all of that is going to prevent us from becoming our best selves. It's going to prevent us from doing what the Lord wants us to do. Before I go to Dart, there's something that happened at church one day. Somebody did something. And let me tell you something. It is so funny. The day before I went to church, I said to my daughter, I don't want to be at a church where I dislike someone, because that is my place of worship. And I shouldn't be going to church and feeling any way like that towards people. And the following day, somebody did something that offended me. And he didn't even do it to me, he did it to my husband. And I was so offended by what he did. I was so offended. Like, I didn't even want to talk to him the way I was so offended. And when I reached home, like, somebody said, remember what you said the day before? I said, God, I have to forgive him. I have to forgive him and just move on from this. But, the enemy will come and he does not want us to be our best selves. Because, the one day I said to myself, if I should see my best self, like, see yourself, would I recognize that person? And for me, with our one life that we're given, I believe we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to God who created us to be our best self, trusting him, having faith, trusting him with our entire life. Dorit, let me go to you quickly. Have you ever been in a situation where you fight whatever emotions you're having and you fight to bring up that faith level because you were determined that you must make it? You must get over whatever you're going through.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I have been told by the enemy that I should just commit suicide, because if you die, your family will have money, you know, from, you know, maybe insurance or whatever. So he tried in so many ways just to stop what God have in store for me, but I kept speaking to myself what I knew from the word, and I kept remembering prophecies that was prophesied over my life, and I kept going back to what God had told me, you know, in my private time with the Lord. He showed me some stuff and He ministered to my spirit where there's something that I want to take you into. But as to how to get there, that was connection through Dr. Trish. And I believe I'm on this journey to greater paths, because without a doubt, without a fact, God closed doors, but He has avenues. He have storehouses, he have lands and properties and ways for you to just bask in him. And without a doubt, I know that my story is rewritten, because I don't longer feel like I am not loved anymore. I don't longer feel like I'm abandoned anymore. I don't longer feel like I'm an orphan anymore. I feel like Jesus loves me, and I have family and friends that loves me and take care of me. So with all of this, that the newness that the Lord has just caused me to just come into and appreciate who I am to him, that I'm able to now love others even more, and don't always believe that persons are just out to get you at times, because sometimes the enemy will come and speak to you, and you have to tear down those strongholds and realize that be the blessing. You are the blessing. You are the beloved. You are the child the Lord created to solve something. So just pursue it and just manifest in His glory and allow Him to just show up and show off through you. So without a doubt, I'm victorious every day. I'm victorious every day because of God and because of His light. He just feeding me with His light, and I'm just showing up ready to just showcase His light in me. And I know that if we continue just eating up His word and drinking, there's greater things ahead of us. There's greater works to be done, and we have to mentor somebody else. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Dart. As we wrap up another episode of Real Women Unplugged, I would leave this with you, that in all things, in the good times and in the bad times, give God praise. Give God thanks. Ask Him when you're going through a certain season, God, what are you teaching me? What are you showing me? Because you know what I've noticed? The quicker you understand what God is teaching you in a season, is the quicker you come out of that season. I have learned that. And while you're in that waiting room, while you wait on the Lord, be in a place of praise. Be in a place of praise. Guys, I have been there. I will share with you another time about a season that my husband and I just came out of. And I'm telling you, it was rough. But we never stopped believing that the Lord would make a way. We never stopped believing that He would deliver us. No matter how long a situation seemed like it's just going on forever, nothing lasts forever. He will never give you more than you can bear. He is always like Him hold you up. Sometimes you're in such a situation where you feel so weak that you literally feel as if He's carrying me. God, you are carrying me because I cannot do this on my own. God, you have to ask for grace. I used to pray for grace. God, give me the grace to deal with this. Give me the grace to deal with this child. Give me the grace to deal with this situation. Give me the utterance, what to say, what to get past this season in my life. I thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.